Hi, everyone. Producer Austin here with the What's Happening podcast, bringing you a quick prelude to this week's episode. We have a really exciting one for you. Gary sits down with two Eastern Iowa high school football legends, Butch Pedersen, coach of the West Branch Bears, as well as his son, Coach Lance Pedersen, with the Mount Vernon Mustangs. It's a really great episode. However, due to the immunocompromised health conditions of one of the guests, we had to record this one via Zoom rather than bring everyone into the studio. So due to that, the audio quality is going to be a little bit different than usual. For our video viewers on YouTube, the video quality is a little bit different as well. However, the quality of the conversation itself is as good as ever. So without further ado, please enjoy the episode.
You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Well, good morning, everyone. I've got Lance Pedersen with the Mount Vernon Mustang program here with us today, and his father, Butch Pedersen from the West Branch. So welcome, guys. Welcome to What's Happening in podcast. How you guys doing this morning?
Great.
Good.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, I'm really blessed to have both of you here today. So today I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit. Congratulations to Lance. First of all, I think the Gazette Area Coach of the Year. So you did a fantastic job with Mount Vernon, made it to the final game. Do you want to tell us just a little bit, Lance, about what that experience was like to take Mount Vernon to the final game and came really close? So tell us more about that.
Yeah. First of all, I'm blessed. You know, being Coach of the Year doesn't mean just me. It means my staff, my players, my parents, the community, everybody working together to help us be successful. And it was a fun ride. You know, we went into the season with a lot of question marks, and we just took one game at a time. On week 2, we were able to beat Solon, breaking a streak of 19 straight years of losing to those guys, and we just continued to roll. And you know, as the season goes on, you always face different challenges, just different adversities, and our guys were able to overcome all season long. And the thing that was most pleasing to me is our football team was made up of a bunch of guys who truly did care about each other. 16, 17, 18-year-old guys who weren't afraid to say that they love each other and that they care for each other and they wanted to play for each other. We didn't have any major standout guys. Instead, we had just 11 guys working together as one. And going into the state finals game, we knew it was a huge challenge with the defending state champions, Harlan, coming in. And we lost 2 all-state players coming into that football game. And, our guys just rallied around each other, and we had them on the ropes. We made them have to play a perfect fourth quarter, and they did, and ended up winning the football game. But we were really proud, and we won't apologize for being 12-1 this football season, and had us some amazing people and some amazing games on the way.
Well, what a fantastic year, and congratulations. And obviously with a couple of your all-state guys on the sidelines, that's just amazing. So Butch, I just wanted to swing back to you a little bit and talk to you a little bit about what was it like to coach Lance as your son in football. And of course you coach Kip too, but tell us a little bit about Lance. And did you at West Branch win a state championship in Lance's years when he played high school football?
Yes. First of all, we won the state championship when he was a senior, 1989. And Lance was very easy to coach. He was very, very focused on what he wanted to do, accomplished not only as a player, but as a person. And I think that's really valuable to have all your athletes doing that way. We're going to coach him in football, but we're going to coach him a lot more than just football. We're going to coach him to be a man down the road. And I think that's the more vital part of high school football. Yeah, we want to win. We want to do a really good job on the field, but we also want to learn how to become a young man down the road. And I think Lance did a good job of that. And all of his teammates on that particular team were the same way. They were very tight knit. They were very much a family. And I think that was one of the reasons we won that year. We really cared about one another.
I think that's important. You hear that from a lot of coaches that it's not the individuals. You're building individuals. You're making them where they care about their teammates. It's a family. I know they talk about that in the Navy SEALs that they weed the guys out that don't want to take care of their partner or their buddy or whatever they call them in the SEALs. It isn't just an individual effort. So how do you mold? I'll just throw this out to both of you guys. How do you mold it into where they care about each other? Put team first as opposed to individuals. What kind of things do you do to teach them to be leaders like that?
Go ahead, Lance.
Well, I think I think that's a great question, and it's something that is one of the biggest focuses I have as a head football coach. And about 15, 20 years ago, I was at an Iowa football clinic, and they talked about leadership, and they said if you ever complain about leadership within your team, look at yourself in the mirror because it's your fault. You need to develop it.
Huh.
And since then, I've always taught a leadership course. And one of the things that we focus on is, different types of leadership. What is leadership? And I don't think we have natural born leaders anymore. And I think it's our job as people in position of to lead. And leading means bringing others along with you, not just sitting at the top, pointing fingers and telling people what to do. And that's something we've worked extremely hard to do. And within that process, we've also been able to teach caring and different types of things. And so I think one of the things you have to do is first model it, and we do that within our staff. Our staff cares about each other as people first, and then as coaches second. And I think the kids see that. And then I also think it's important now that we show our kids that we care about them more than just football players. And so you go to the wrestling meets, you go to the basketball games, you go to the plays, you go to the concerts, and show them that not only do I care about you from August until November, but I care about you year round, and I care about you for the rest of your life. And so I think that's something you just have to continue to model as the head coach and as coaches, and the kids will follow.
Great. Butch, you got anything to add to that?
No, I think a lot of the same concepts that Lance uses, we use as well, and I think that the good programs do that. I think it's important to mold your kids. I think that the trust factor is very important. I think the kids have to trust you and know that you care about them. And I think once they know, and they can pick out a phony real easy. I mean, kids are pretty smart nowadays, and they always have been, but I think they can pick out a phony. If you're telling them things that are not really true and that you don't believe in, they're going to pick out on that. And so we're very honest with the kids. Sometimes we're brutally honest. If they ask a question that might not be what they really want to hear, but you want to be honest with them, you have to tell them those things. And I think they understand that. And again, we stress the family atmosphere. I'm lucky at West Branch because I've got 7 or 8 players, former players that are on my coaching staff, and they've grown up with this and they know it, and they teach it just as well as I do, if not better. They do a great job.
So Butch, I just tell us a little bit about your background in football and how long you've been coaching at West Branch, and then tell us a little bit about your year this year where you went to the quarterfinals in the state.
We this is my 39th year as the head coach at West Branch. I started in 1983. Marv Cook was my first quarterback at West Branch, believe it or not.
Wow.
And that's been a while back. And we had a great season. We were 11-1. We really developed as a team. The offensive line was kind of shaky at the beginning of the year, and Ronnie Hughes was our coach, and he coached in Texas and was 3-time coach of the year in Texas, but he did a great job, as did all my coaches, John Hirschman, offensive coordinator, Kevin Braddock, Tyler Bailey, on and on and on, Jason Peterson, and on and on and on. And they just continued to do exactly what we wanted them to do. And the kids really related to our coaches. I mean, we get out there and we have fun. You just can't go out and kick them in the butt every day. You've got to go out and you got to have fun with the kids. And they got to understand that you love them to death and that you'll do anything for them. When that happens, they'll do the same thing for you. I played in high school, and my junior year, we were mythical state champions. So I've been lucky to be a part of 4 state championships at West Branch. And, we're going to continue to push that ball and push as best we can to become good every particular year.
When you were mythical state champion, who was your coach, Butch? And what do you remember most about your coach? Any stories about that when you played?
Oh yeah, Roger. My coach was Roger Hansen, and he came to us from a Marine drill sergeant. And our years in PE class were basically the first semester we marched. We'd march down the hallway down into on the football field, and we'd do exercises until we didn't feel very well. And he made us extremely tough mentally. And obviously, when we played games, we were in good shape. I mean, we had a crick that always ran. We never practiced in town. We always went out in the country, and we'd find a field with a crick in it. And we'd go out there, and we lay down with first day of practice. We lay down in the oat stove, and you couldn't even see us. So he'd have to walk around and try to find us with his feet, and then he'd stand on our belly for a while. And we loved him, and we'd do anything for him. And he'd line us up over next to the creek, and we'd have one guy next to the creek and the other guy on the other side, and whoever won was going to be just fine, and the other guy is going to be kind of wet. And that was the Marine drill sergeant in Roger, and he was tough. And if he told you to sit down, you better not look for a seat. And that's the way that was all the way through. And I think we learned a lot of discipline from Roger. He just passed away about 6 months ago, and he was a great football coach.
Tell us a little bit about West Branch football and the tradition out there at the Little Rose Bowl. I think it was built, was it 48? And am I right about that, Butch? Is it 48?
I think it was in 29. Actually, it was in 1921.
Oh, wow. I was way off.
Yeah, it was built by a team of horses. I mean, they had horses, and they had these guys coming in, and they took all the dirt from one end of the field and they push it to the other end of the field, and they haul it away, and they made a bowl out of it. And I think that's very, very cool. And we have a lot of pictures of that, and we feel that we have a real advantage when we play in the Little Rose Bowl, because it's a beautiful environment, and a lot of people come to our games because of that.
So tell us, you've been coaching for 39 years. Where does the tradition, where do the kids in a small school, it seems like you have a really strong element that they want to play football, they want to play for the Bears. Isn't your percentage, what's your wins and losses? Just briefly tell us about, is it 80% wins to losses, I think?
We've won 80% of our games.
Wow.
Which is, really a tribute to the players and the coaches. It's never the head coach. It's the people that you surround yourself with. Hayden Fry used to tell me the same thing when he first started coaching. You surround yourself with some good people, and then you let them coach. And I think we've done that at West Branch. And I think that the kids know that they're going to get to play. We told them when I first basically took over, you work hard during the course of the season, and everybody is going to get into the game. And that doesn't happen in very many schools. And we still follow that policy. We get every single kid into every regular season game.
Right.
And they know that they're going to play, so they come out.
When I came out, I watched the Bears the last couple of games. I saw a team effort. I saw, like you told me, they're hitters, and they really swarmed to the ball. And I was amazed that you had no weaknesses. They were very strong, tough guys, and seemed like a complete team effort. But the tradition, I'm just amazed by the tradition and at West Branch. So, hey, Lance, I don't mean to exclude you on Mount Vernon's tradition. You have a really rich, long tradition at Mount Vernon. Tell us a little bit about Mount Vernon's tradition.
Yeah. In fact, as I was preparing, as you were talking to my dad, but Mount Vernon has a huge football tradition here.
Right.
Coach Bellamy was one of the leaders of the football program and did such an amazing job. He was here for 37 years, had a 74% winning percentage. And Mount Vernon football has just been a very, very storied tradition. And, I look at over the years they won a state title 1974, 1993, and 1994, and have been state runner-ups 1, 2, 6 different times. And so, the tradition here at Mount Vernon was very, very strong. Prior to me taking over the football program, a couple of years prior to me taking over the football program, they were 0-9. And so when I was trying to decide if that's the place I wanted to go, I remember Mount Vernon from the old Eastern Iowa Hawkeye Conference days. And I knew Mount Vernon was a football town, and they were hungry to be successful again. And that's what made me make that choice to come to Mount Vernon. And we've been lucky enough to get things turned in the right direction here.
Yeah, you're doing a great job up there. So both schools have great tradition, and you've turned out a lot of great athletes. Hey, Butch, how did you get Marv Cook from a quarterback to a tight end at Iowa?
Marv could have played about any place he wanted. He's a very natural athlete, and he was very gifted, and he gave great effort. And he played quarterback for us. He played defensive end. He punted. He sold programs before the game. He went up and worked the concession stand at halftime. He did a lot of different things, but he was also surrounded with a bunch of great athletes. They won 2 state championships in track, and they had about 8 kids on that team, and they went up in a van and won 2 years in a row the state championship in track. And so we were gifted to have a lot of good athletes on that team.
My best memory of Marv was I got to go to that Ohio State-Iowa game. I don't know the year, but it was raining. It was kind of cold up there. And when Marv caught that last second pass, caught it on like the 3 or 4 yard line, 2 D-backs smacked him pretty hard. And he still carried it in the end zone, and Iowa beat Ohio State at Columbus. So that was one of my fondest memories of Marv. So, but I bet both of you have incredible experiences with the athletes, with the kids you've coached. And what I want you to maybe talk about and expand on is a lot of people look at football and they don't understand what goes into building a program. They don't understand, the discipline, the hard work, leadership qualities. Lance, you highlighted that a little bit. And I played a little high school football way back when, a long time ago, and it still sticks with me today in business and the competition and the things that I think about. I still remember, maybe scoring a touchdown here or there, or catching a pass and an end of a game. And sometimes, that was 50 years ago. And you're like, well, how do you remember that? It sticks with you. So tell us a little bit about, how it feels to you guys after you've coached people, especially Butch. When they come back, they have families, they're leaders in the community. They end up going to school, colleges. They're all over the country, and they come back, and maybe some of those kids are playing for you now that you coached them, 20, 30 years ago. Now their sons are playing for you. So what's that like when you guys know you've developed people into leaders, young men, having families? Just maybe work me through a little bit of what you think football and the discipline teaches kids, more than just being on the gridiron and more than scoring a touchdown. How does that develop young men?
Go ahead,
Well,
Lance.
I think for us, if you look at our football season this year, we're 12-1. You talk about success or not having success, and my answer to that is I will tell you if this is a successful season in about 10 years. Because then our guys will be out in the community. And my question is, are they becoming great husbands? Are they becoming great fathers? Are they becoming great community members? Are they giving back to their community? And I will be able to then decide if we were successful or not necessarily because of our one-loss record. In fact, it's just, I don't pay much attention to those things. I look for more what those guys are doing now. In fact, one of my former players, they just won the national title in his football team. Garrett Horman just did a great job with that. And, I look at our other players, Jack Cochran playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, Tristan Wirfs playing with the Buccaneers, and those guys doing, not only are they successful on the field, but look at what people to say about them as people. Tristan is one of the best tackles in the world right now. But more importantly, the people of Tampa Bay absolutely love him, and because of the person that he is. And I watched these little clips of him giving back to the community, going to homeless shelters and serving lunches or meals or doing these types of things. And that's what makes me the most proud. Yes, he's a great tackle, and yes, he's doing some amazing things, but what is he giving back? And he's giving back huge. And same thing with Jack, and same thing with so many of my players now who are giving back to their communities and becoming outstanding people of our communities. And so, those are the things that we try to teach. I always say at the end of the season, if all I did was teach you about X's and O's, I have failed you as a coach. My goal is to make you a better person and a better student, a better athlete, a better son, a better brother. And if that's what we were able to do, then I was successful. We were successful at this football season.
So, part of it, Lance, is let's say it's 4th and 2. It's the end of the game. It's been a tough game. What do you try to teach the kids? We want to score, but how much of it's mental? Obviously, you got to prepare physically, and you got to be in shape. But talk about the mental side where, and in life, a lot of people quit. A lot of people won't persevere. A lot of people won't push it over the goal line. And tell us a little bit about what you try to instill in your players to. Maybe it's push across the goal. Maybe it's to stop them on 4th down. Maybe how do you get them ready for that last play? I just was with Nate Kading. He was talking at the Cedar Rapids Country Club the other night about what it's like to go on the field, the last few seconds and kick a 50-yard field goal, how you prepare for that the mental side of it. I think a lot of people don't understand in athletics the mental side of how you have to prepare your mind to be able to prepare for that last second play or catch that pass or whatnot. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Oh, for sure. That's something I would talk about. And so I've been going to different places and doing some talks. And how often do we hear coaches say you need to get mentally prepared?
Right.
And then my question then is, how often do coaches teach them how to get mentally prepared?
Right.
It's like teachers in class. Did anybody ever teach us in school how to actually study for a test, or they just tell us we needed to study for a test?
Right.
Well, we've taken it to the next level in our football program and teaching kids on how to get mentally prepared and the different ways of preparing mentally for a game. And I think it doesn't happen just within the football season. It happens right now in our strength and conditioning programs. It happens in our spring practices. It happens in our summer practices. You know, you're going to trust the guy. Dad talked about trust a little bit. You're going to trust the guy a lot more if he's been with you since November preparing for this football season. You're going to trust the guy more if he's been in the wrestling, if he's a wrestler, if he's a basketball player and he's competing year round. And you're going to be more mentally prepared because you've done that. And you know that's what worries me about college football right now and society in general. You know, nothing's given to us anymore. You have to work for it. And college football now says, well, if I'm a second team player, I'm just going to get in the portal and get the heck out and go somewhere else. You know, to me, there's so much more gratification and satisfaction when you worked to get to where you're at, as opposed to having things given to you. And so when you are that second team player and all of a sudden you work during the out of season to become the first team player in August, that's more satisfying and gratifying than just to bail out. And it worries me a lot about what's happening in our society today because it's so easy just to quit. And one of the things I teach in my class is it's when you quit that first time, the second time's easier. The third time's easier. And what happens when you have a job situation, you have a family dependent on you and you quit? Now what happens to your family situation? Or what happens when you have a bad illness and you decide you've quit so many times in your life, it just becomes easy to quit. And so one of the things we try to teach our guys is you never give up, never quit, and just always keep pressing ahead and good things will happen to you.
Great. Butch, can you expand on that a little?
I basically we're this out of the same mold. We both believe in basically the same things. And what we'd like to do as well at West Branch is we'd like to get them involved in the community. For example, they'll go down to the nursing home and they'll play checkers with some of the residents down there, or we'll on game days we'll have what we call, and Lance does the same thing, high five. We'll have the kids go down to the elementary school, and when the little ones come in, you got to see their faces. Our kids have their jerseys on and they're standing at the doorway, and those little ones are just absolutely eating that up. And then they'll go out in the playground and they'll want to be Andy Henson, or they'll want to be whoever they want to be out there. And it's fun to go out and watch them do that. But we do a lot of things within the community and within the school district to make it a family thing, to make it a community tradition. It's not just West Branch football, it's a community tradition. And Gary, that's one of the reasons why you'll come to games and you'll see people all over the place. And that's a cool environment. We have a variety of other things we do. We'll have a military night.
Yeah.
We'll have a plane come overhead, and three guys will jump out and they'll have the game ball in their hand, and there'll be like 250 to 300 flags around the field.
Right.
And boy, and then all the vets came down on the field. After the first quarter, we'll stop the game. Sometimes the opponent doesn't like that, but we'll tell them ahead of time, we're going to have a 5-minute deal where our veterans are coming down on the field and they're going to shake our players' hands, and we're going to thank them for all the things they've done. So yeah, football it's a part of it, but certainly, sometimes even a small part of it. It's what are you going to become when you get older? What are you going to respect? The National Guard, the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air Force. Are you respecting all those people? And we're going to explain why they should. And we used to go up to the cemetery after some of the military type things, and we take the flags off the graves up there because I thought that was something that they should do to honor those people.
That's good. I was out there that night in West Branch when you had a flag, I think, planted every 5 to 10 yards, and then some folks jumped in, and then you honored the veterans. And my son Brian was there, who was in the Air Force, and it meant so much to all these guys. I know it meant a lot to him to be able to come out in front of the folks, and we don't appreciate our veterans enough. And for you to recognize that, I thought was wonderful. So thanks for doing that. Lance, I want to go back a little bit. In the Gazette article, I read that, you're up fairly early. You drive back and forth from Marengo, and then you coach tell us about coaching girls, I think 7th grade, and then coaching's coaching. And then how would you tell the listeners of, okay, I coach the girls in 7th grade, and how does that, is it very similar to coaching football in high school?
Well, I similar, yes, and different at the same time. And the thing is, I truly just love coaching, and I don't care what level it's at. And because it's not about me, it's not about ego, it's about educating kids and trying to help them get better and try to see their full potential. And whether it be a 7th grade girl or an 18-year-old boy, it doesn't matter to me, because every kid wants to be the best they can be. And the challenge for me is to get that out of them. And we're actually getting prepared. We have our last game tonight to have an undefeated season with my 7th grade girls. And, they're getting a little nervous, and you see that little smile on their face when I walk by them in the hallway. They're just getting excited. And it's just a joy to want to help these kids reach their full potential. And that's what I like to do. And I don't care what level it's at. It's just a lot of fun for me.
Well, congratulations to you for doing that. I can remember Coach Bob Brown at Regina, when my daughter played volleyball. He would always write her a personal note before a volleyball game, put it in a locker. Well, he was a cross country coach. And I think that's so neat. I think that a lot of incredible mentors are coaches. And I think you can relate it in later life and what you're doing in your businesses with your spouses, your children. I think those lessons learned on the gridiron or wherever you're coaching are valuable experiences. So what else would you guys like to share to us today? I mean, we've got the storied programs you both have. You've got, Coach of the Year, Lance, in this area. I think you're both Coach of the Year, by the way, and should share that. So Lance, you got to play for your dad. Butch, you got to coach your sons. What are some other memorable moments you guys would like to talk about?
Well, I know one thing I like to talk about as well is the fact that we didn't mention his name on the military night, but that thing's going to happen again this fall. And the gentleman's name is Dave McElrath, and he served in the service as well. And he's done all that work on his own, and then we just help him every way we can. But he's the guy behind all that. And I just like to have the memories. I like a memory when you're out on the practice field toward the end of the practice, and all of a sudden it's time to condition. And you've got the star athlete over here, and then you got one over here that's trying to be as good as they can possibly be. And I like to push those kids up and down the field and do a Lombardi drive a drill or something that's really challenging. And we know that one of the kids that maybe don't have the ability are going to fall behind. Okay, then I know what's going to happen, because the kids that finish early and they see the kids that are behind, if they're truly a family, they're going to stop. They're going to go and they're going to help that kid up off the ground, because he's probably down there not feeling so well. And they're going to help that kid finish the goal line run. And that's what a family is. When you're down and when you're hurting, your family is important and you need to be there. And that, I think that's our number one thing, success that we have, is we're a family oriented group. And again, had to have former players on my staff is a real plus for me. And to be able to have the number of people that say, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? You've done the same thing. You've helped West Branch football. And your occupation on what you do is no different than a coach. You're out, you're a competitor, you get after people, you do the best possible job, you help people in various situations, and you can be successful. Isn't that what life's supposed to be about?
Right.
Have fun, but go out and be successful. And if not, then stand back up and you do the next play. We use that all the time. If you have a crappy play, that's going to happen.
Right.
But what are you going to do after that play? It's the next play. And I
Right.
think that's another lesson we teach kids. If you fail at something, that doesn't mean you're a loser. If you've given everything you have, but you got beat that night, you're a winner.
Right.
And I think too many coaches just would win, 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 win. Yeah, I'm a horrible loser, so we don't like to lose very much. But when they work their heart out and they do the best they possibly can, we're going to hug them. We're going to love them. It's not just whether they win or not.
Right. Oh, that's great. Lance, you got anything to add there?
No, I think we try to do a lot of the same things, and I think it's just a matter of letting kids know that you care, and it has to be more than just words. You have to show it, and just do different types of things. Words mean nothing, actions mean everything. And today or this past couple of weeks, one of the things that it's very, very important to understand is that football, to be successful as a program, takes so many people. And I think in the last couple of weeks, and you talked about the handwritten note, I've sent about 125 thank you notes to people across our community, because the email's easy, a text is
Yep.
simple, but I think when you take that time to write a handwritten note to somebody, it means a lot. And those little things. My speech at one of my first clinics that I'm going to be speaking at is the small things make a huge difference. And I think that's what you always look at the edge. We call it the edge, and what does it take to get over that edge? And I think the small things do. How many times in a football game have you seen teams lose by a couple inches or by 1 point? And all those little things add up to a huge success or not having success. And those are the things that we're focused on. And Dad talked about community tradition, and we have that here at Mount Vernon as well. We have a huge community tradition. And in fact, over the last 9 years, we've been able to raise almost $400,000 for our football program.
Wow.
When I first took over, it wasn't very pretty. We had some really poor equipment. Now our kids have the best equipment that you can think of, and we have a lot of the fun extra stuff. And it's because of the community support that has made that happen. And so, it takes so many people to be successful in the game of football. And I think it's important to let all those people know how appreciative we are of them and what they've given to us. And that's what that family atmosphere is about. It's not just me at the top. It's everybody working together to be successful. And that's what makes it so much more fun. This year I was blessed to have 14 coaches on my staff. And,
Wow.
and those guys all, when we had our coaches meeting on Friday nights, it's just about having fun and working together as a group, and me being able to trust them to put in the time and effort, and I know they do. And it's just amazing what we were able to put out this year.
I think another tradition that I like to see, I think in college football, just football in general, is the wave at Iowa at the end
Yeah.
of the first quarter. What an emotional, I've had a couple of relatives that have been in that children's hospital, and I kind of know what they went through, or at least experienced. I've never experienced that, but obviously the emotions of the family and whatnot. But to stop a game or in between the quarters, turn around and wave at the kids, that's really emotional for me. I stand there and it's I tear up almost, and I think that's so neat. That tells you the character of the Iowa program, and for both sides of the competition too. Those guys turn around and wave at the kids, I think is truly fantastic for the college football sports and for football in general. I think it's how neat is that they do that. So, hey, Butch, tell us we're going to wrap up here fairly quick, but tell us a little bit about when you were talking about your assistant coach. You talked about Hayden Fry. Think about the assistants that Hayden turned out. They're all head coaches and very successful. And I think when Hayden first got here, that first group, Kirk obviously here now was one of the offensive line coach, and Brazier and Snyder, and just think of those coaches and how he mentored those guys. All went out and were extremely successful all over the country. And it looks like you got coaches that come back to West Branch that were on some of your championship teams, and tell us what that means to you, and how did you develop it? And just tell us a little bit about your assistants.
Well, my assistants will do anything. And it can be 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I come up with an idea. I'll call them on the telephone, and they're over at the house. I mean, they're very dedicated. They played West Branch football. I have 12 assistants, and I think some people sometimes say, well, Lance has got 14 and Butch has got 12. We do that for a purpose so we can have, a better teaching environment. And I think that's one of the keys that we both have is we have very technique oriented people. We're not going to beat ourselves. If the team beats us, then that's fine. They're probably better than we are, but we're not going to lose technique battles. And Hayden would talk about it all the time that he hired those people. Bill Brazier, there was nobody better around. He could have easily been a head coach, but he enjoyed the environment in Iowa City. He enjoyed being around Hayden. And Bumpy Elliott was like one of the greatest athletic directors in the history of athletic directors.
Right.
And luckily, we and Lance, myself, we could go to Iowa practices and still do. And we met all these people, and we watched and we modeled ourselves even after them. And I think some people in your business ought to model themselves after you. You go out and you do things the right way. You appreciate people. And I think when you have coaches that really go out and do the extra thing for the kids, I think that means a lot to the kids. And those kids obviously then come back years later and say, I remember you, John Hirschman. I remember you, Jason Peterson. I remember all you guys, Dan Zuniga, on and on and on. I don't want to start naming because I can name them all. And I've had a lot of great assistant coaches through the years, and they always seem to gravitate back, and they're always involved, and there's always a note there, or there's always a phone call. And I think that's important to have that kind of support.
Well, I just wanted to say, I'll kind of wrap up here today, guys. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for what you do. Thank you for building young men and the character and the coaching abilities that you guys bring. And thank you for teaching, the kids some hard work, ethics, pushing themselves, being competitive, the discipline that you guys bring. I think you're building future leaders. Sometimes it goes unappreciated, but I want to let you know that I appreciate what you do, and I'm sure tons of people do also. The state of Iowa appreciates you. Thanks for what you do for Iowa high school athletics, and it's been a real pleasure to have both Lance Pedersen with the Mount Vernon Mustangs and Butch Pedersen with the West Branch Bears on today. Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, thank you, Gary, for allowing us.
You bet.